I'm interested as an artist in getting really close to my materials. I think that materials actually have a kind of soul. I'm interested in that relationship between material and process and kind of idea or spirit. My work is kind of a narrative about my travels, my adventures, especially my canoeing and fishing adventures in the Boundary Waters and in Quatico. Some of the work is, in a sense, a narrative about canoeing, all these little pieces. This tiny little piece was cast in the Boundary Waters. It's cast aluminum, casted in a clay mold. One of the things that I find fascinating and enjoyable about the wilderness is the notion of silence and the notion of adventure and also the idea that the wilderness doesn't really care whether you're alive or not. Part of my investigation into metal casting has involved going to various cultures and learning about the ways in which they cast metal. This is one of the processes that I learned in Japan. I've been to Korea, been to China, I've been to Turkey, I've been to India, all kind of researching various ways that people have cast metal. I try to practice those techniques, and then I also offer them as alternatives for students to realize their work. Here's another paddle piece with a turtle on it. I have a totem, the turtle. It's kind of an artistic and spiritual guide. And turtles figure in all kinds of mythologies across the world, generally as symbols for longevity and creativity. So I think that art really is a relationship between the object, the artist, and the viewer. So it happens somewhere in between.
This is the Regis Center for Art on the west bank of the University of Minnesota. And we're in the East Building, and this is the University of Minnesota Sculpture Foundry.
I started at the University of Minnesota in 1969, and I'll be retiring July 18th, 2014. So that'll be a 45-year kind of span.
I want all the small molds down there, and hots can stay kind of right over there and colds over here. Tonight we are going to have our 27th annual turkey pour. We're not pouring any turkeys. It always happens right before Thanksgiving. So I've been doing this for 27 years with my fall class. And it's also a time for me to make my work as well. So this is a whole series of pieces about my canoe experiences in which the paddle is a metaphor for the river or the lake. This is the pattern for that. That one kind of fits right in there. And then what I did was model a wax canoe and a couple of canoeists. Then I set that on the top part. So what I'm going to do right now is just put this mold together.
I made my first metal casting, which was lead, in the basement of my house in 1959, but I was always interested in the kind of the transformative process that metal casting enables the artist to do.
The iron pour, well, I do usually 2 iron pours where we use the cupola a year, one in the fall and one in the spring. There we go. The students have designed the sculptures and they've made the molds, and they're involved with everything. This is a course that is about making, and personally believe that the making process and the use of your hands is really important in creativity and the development of your own expression and the development of your mind. So we're going back in there, we're going to start charging. All right, let's have a good pour, let's all be safe. Take it flat, Corey. Woo! All right. That's a lot hotter. All right, we got some hot metal now.
The thing that's interesting about metal casting is it's very difficult to do it by yourself. And so there's always this camaraderie. There's the sense of learning how to work together, how to cooperate. All the moves that go into putting the iron and the coke in the cupola and taking the iron out and pouring with the ladle and working the crane. And it's just like a choreographed dance. People group and do various actions together, and because you're handling hot stuff that's 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit, you have to know what you're doing.
So I want you guys to go this way when you back up, not through that way, okay? Back that way, and let's go fast, because we'll see how this iron's doing.
I treat my classroom as a workshop in a kind of an old-fashioned sense, and in a traditional sculpture workshop, maybe in the Renaissance, there was an advanced practitioner, call him a master, someone who's had lots of experience and has demonstrated that experience through practice.
Oh, it's coming up. Did you see your mold flame out as it came up on each level?
Yeah, I was like, oh, what is this?
No, that's a good sign.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's no end to the angst of metal casting, and there's no end to what one can learn. That's important for me because unless you're learning, you really can't be a teacher. You have to continue to learn and to grow. So if you're going to try to convey that to students, you have to demonstrate that through your work ethic, through your actions, and through your own process of learning.
Came out pretty good. I just got to kind of get the rest of the sand off here, so I'm going to get a wire brush.
Most of the handwork in metal casting today is going to be done by artists because metal casting has gone the way of most technologies. More and more we are distancing ourselves from material and from process in favor of something which is very cerebral. I'm really old school in that I believe that we should be involved in a very intimate, especially as artists, very intimate way with our materials. I've always enjoyed teaching. And then the interesting thing about students is most of the time you're getting as much as you're giving. So that there's this exchange of information and there's a kind of excitement that goes along with that. So that's really important to me is that interchange.
Well, I hope that my legacy here in the Department of Art will be that I've developed a program that has a national and international reputation in metal casting and in sculpture, and that my students have gone on to good works and been successful in their careers as artists.